So I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Augie Grant for the Caldwell Teaching Award. Dr. Tanner introduced me as Dr. Carmen May. That I may be referenced that way owes largely to Dr. Grant. As a PhD student here, I had several courses with him. He chaired my dissertation committee. In fact, I think the hill marks are still visible in the basement of the old Coliseum where he dragged me across the finish line. There are two aspects to Dr. Grant's teaching that stand out most for me. The first is his unflagging enthusiasm. He's all in all the time. The second is his versatility. He started in his versatility can actually kind of be annoying because not everybody can do that. He started in broadcasting. He's capable, however, of swimming in multiple lanes. He knows a lot of stuff. If you don't believe me, just ask him. I would wager he's taught a wider range of college courses to a more diverse audience than anyone, anywhere, ever. You could say Augie is to teaching what Matthew McConaughey, one of his former students at the University of Texas, is to acting. Augie's exuberance extends beyond the classroom. It's not just media system dependence theory that excites him. He wears his love of his family on his sleeve. He loves Barry Manilow music. He loves Slurpees and good bourbon. Although thankfully not all at once, at least as far as I know. In addition to his faculty duties, Dr. Grant recently became director of the university's very busy Center for Teaching Excellence. That role for Dr. Grant is the most natural of natural progressions. Now the campus at large is benefiting from the commitment to teaching excellence that we formally recognize in Dr. Grant here tonight. Augie.
Isabel, I'm glad you started out because I'm going to follow you. I do get emotional. It's like John Boehner. Anybody who really loves their bourbon is allowed to be emotional. If you get real close to me tonight, you'll see I'm wearing a little pin. This is a pin that the university has given to those of us who are first generation. Nobody in my family had ever been to college, let alone graduate. So I had a chance to go to college. I was at the University of Florida, and it took 3 years to do my bachelor's, and I said, I am never, ever going back to school. A year and a half later, I was back at the University of Florida working on a master's degree. Some friends had done it, and they said I could do it, and I was 4 weeks in, and I said, I can't do this. Went to see Kurt Kent, my media theory professor, and said, I've got to drop out. And Kurt said, "What? Why?" I said, I'm not getting it. I'm not capable. He said, no. He said, you have an A. Really? And I did, and I stuck with it. And went back to work in the field as a broadcaster, and found myself teaching a few years later, and realized from when my boss told me, well, you're making this much, if you had a doctorate, you can make a lot more money. Really? Okay. So I went, got my doctorate at the other USC, the immature one. And while I was working on my doctorate, I said, this is all so practical. I am never, ever going back to school again. And when I graduated, I had a choice of taking a job in industry or taking a job at the University of Texas, and something about being in Austin, something about being a Longhorn Health, something about teaching drew me back in. After about a decade there, I had a chance to join this faculty, and I still had that hankering. I wanted to be in industry. I really wanted to make a difference there. And a former student asked me, would I join a startup? I'd go out to San Jose, resign tenure, all I'd have is a six-figure salary and unlimited expense account and stock options. Damn. So I did. I left academia. I got the stock options, watched week by week as the value of the stock went up from a few $100,000 to $1 million to a few million. Said, wow, this is great. I can't wait till this is all over and I can go back and I can retire and I'll teach. Because that's, if I've got all the money in the world, I can teach. And in January 2001, the bottom fell out of the dot-com bubble. It burst. I lost my job. Stock options were almost worthless. But I knew what I wanted to do for a living. I came back to Columbia and got a job teaching at Benedict College, wanting to rejoin this faculty. And having the fortune in summer 2002 to become part of this faculty as a visitor, and 2 years later to become full-time. Because I realized after 40 different jobs over a 30-year period that what I really wanted, the only one job I wanted, was teaching. But I wasn't that good at it. I had to look for good models, so I looked at the people who surrounded me, these great faculty here, who each one taught me something. Van Cornegay, who with one of his peer reviews taught me about using a whiteboard to communicate. Scott Farron, who taught me how to use so many different pieces of software. Lisa Sisk, who taught me not only how, but the importance of getting to know each student as an individual and use that connection to help them learn. Eric Collins, who taught me you can create a comprehensive exam that tells a story and draw more out of your students with the stories. Doug Fisher, who taught me, literally, taught me copy editing, made me a better editor when we were working together on a book. Carmen May, who taught me sometimes the best thing you can do with a great student is not try to teach them, but to let them lead you. And in the process, they will teach you, and you can open up new worlds for them. I could go on. Every single person in this room has taught me something. But I lean back on my work in industry when I go into the classroom, because there's so many of the students who I want to share not only all of the passion I have for this great field of communication we're in, the idea that you can move from broadcasting into advertising, maybe do a little public relations, throw in some VR for good measure. But there are lessons to be drawn from industry, and I always end every class with a lecture called The 10 Keys, Augie's 10 Keys. And I won't bother repeating them all here. You got to take the class if you want it. Isabel knows them. But number 10 is one that's really important for tonight. Key number 10 is one person can make a difference. And I tell them the key to changing the world is not trying to save the whales and clean the environment and even remove asbestos from the Coliseum. It's to find one person and change that one person's life. And this is where I want to salute, first off, all of our winners today, because all of the honorees for all the alumni awards, you have made us so proud. You are changing the world, and we feel humbled that what you're able to do is done because you let us share things with you that you could then apply and take out there and change the world. The idea of being a teacher, the opportunity. Why did I pick this university? Why did I fight so hard to come back? The doctoral program here. The fact that we have a program that teaches the next generation of teachers. The fact that in my new position, I can teach people how to teach and help them have the same impact. That is the greatest honor, the greatest privilege. My wife, Diane, you have taught me so much In the years we've been together, you've opened up new avenues for me. My son, Bobby, my #1 student ever. And I'm still learning from him too. But more than anything, I want to thank the faculty who twice welcomed me and invited me to join them and said, you know what, we think you can help us make a difference. Come on in. Thank you. Thank you for helping me do what I love so much.